What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I'm your host today, Jared Timms, and I'm joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. Nate, don't care about you right now because we have the world famous Taylor Blake Ward. He is world famous. It's not even a joke. People in Japan know who he is. Taylor, how you doing?
All right, man. I think I'm more famous in Southern America and Central America than I am anywhere in the East or West. So
That's
appreciate it.
that's fair. That's fair. Nate, how you doing?
Doing well. Good to see y'all.
Don't even how are you gonna piss us off today, Nate? How are you gonna piss the fans off? Tell us. What do you got?
We'll see.
All
We'll
right.
just have to wait and see how it goes.
All right, all right, all right. First off, Taylor, tell everybody where they can find you, what you're doing for work. I forgot to get the book out. I meant to do it to show everybody, but you have all the fun stuff. Tell everybody where they can find you, follow you if they don't already.
Yeah. Like you said, I have a book, In Search of Millionaires, Life of a Baseball Gypsy. It's a life story of Bob Fontaine. Scott the Sign, Tony Gwynn, Randy Johnson, Ozzie Smith, Jim Abbott, among others. Recently became the Angels correspondent for Baseball America, so that's exciting. Going to be running some stories over at Baseball America through next year. Have the handbook, have the top 30 prospects and handbook coming out, which that'll be real exciting as well to kind of run with and deal with. And obviously, a Sporting Tribune helping Arash Markazi over there. We're transitioning over to hockey coverage at the moment, so we still have a little postseason baseball. Arash is kind of taking care of that as we run through Dodgers coverage locally, and then World Series wherever it ends up being. Good chance it's in New York on either side, and yeah, just excited about what's going on and ready for winter, man. I can tell you that.
Yep. I mean, baseball never stops. Before you know it, we're going to be talking about international signees and, I mean, just baseball coverage during the off season. Angels off season is usually more fun than the regular season, so always a fun season for Angels fans here. But first question, you mentioned Sports Tribune, you mentioned hockey. I'm going to ask you this because I don't know how much you actually know about hockey. I know you know actually a good chunk about hockey.
Ooh.
I know you do. Who has a better season this year, Ducks, Sharks, or Kings? Since
Oh
I
man,
believe that is who you're covering.
Nate is not going to piss me off. You are going to piss me off, bro.
Yes.
Third line banger, buddy.
Good start.
The Ducks, the Kings, and the Sharks. You can eliminate the Sharks. I don't know if you know this. There is a hockey team in San Jose. It's a good question. I'm going to say the Kings, probably just playing it safe there, but I don't think any three of those teams make the playoffs. I think the Kings are progressively moving down, and I think the Ducks are progressively moving up, but I think they're still at the bottom tier. Kings have enough talent to make the playoffs, so I'm going to kind of go with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make the playoffs this year.
That's fair. Not a hockey podcast here. I grew up a hockey fan though, but you got to have some fun with it. Not a NASCAR related question either. So you mentioned Baseball America. Can you give us maybe a little sneak preview into your top 30?
No. Yeah,
Ooh.
I probably can. Speaking of, by the way, you got to check out an Idaho Steelheads game.
I
If you're
have.
doing, if we're talking hockey, we're
Absolute
running
blast.
all the way down to ECHL, buddy. Um, yeah, I mean, I think it's your standard course. You're looking at the top guys, without giving any orders away. You're looking at Christian Moore and Caden Dana and Nelson Rada and Josua Lugo, George Clausen, Samuel Aldegari. I made sure that I did not give any orders away right there, but I think you're looking more towards the back 15 and who didn't make it. As to what the industry, in my opinion, it's a split opinion. I put my opinion down, that I talked to the organization, and I talked to plenty of people outside the organization as well, and that's kind of how I build that top 30, is finding out who believes there's impact, major league tools, whatever it may be. Because as you know, in the Angel system, minimal impact at the top. Top has some impact players, but realistically, you're looking at a lot of role players, and you're looking at who those role players are going to kind of how we're going to maneuver them in the top 30 a little bit. And my decision is not final. Baseball America definitely has the final say. I just put together what I can, write it out, and then we kind of come to a collective effort on who makes it and who doesn't.
Fair. That's fair. Nate, you got any prospect questions for Taylor?
Well, when you say that your opinion isn't final, like it's basically your 30 though, right? Like that you will put out there.
Yeah, I mean, I write up 31 guys, and then I put together an extra 10 just as a, and it's not a full report. It's
Yeah.
a paragraph at most. You know, 2-3 sentences, 100 words if even. So yeah, I mean, I put together 31 guys, and they put together final. Pretty much what I turn in is what they use, but I definitely have the conversations, and I get calls, 2 weeks after I file saying, "Hey, this guy." Does this guy actually have a curveball? Did you see it? And I say, yeah, he has a curveball. It's he threw it once or twice, but it's in there. Things like that. So we just finalize a few things, but it's I have the final say, but I have so many opinions that come in.
Hmm.
I'm talking to scouts from almost every organization, getting their opinions, and then once I talk to the Angels, I finally get an established. Like I've already sent my initial top 30 list over to pretty much everyone that has to look at it, and hasn't been a ton of opinion changes, but for the most part, it'll be a more of an industry opinion based with my opinion as well.
And like you said, like the top half is pretty cut and dry with the Angels, and then once you get to that 15, 20 to 30 range, it's
Yeah,
everyone's kind of got a different opinion.
it gets pretty wide open. I mean, at
Yeah.
that point, it's just to give you an example, like Capri Ortiz, no doubt has major league tools, and between the speed, switch hitter has some ability to field, has some ability to hit. So he's an interesting guy, probably a bench player in the long run. Even if he makes it to that kind of level, you have to bank on a little bit of upside. But are you taking Capri Ortiz, who you believe in few major league tools to carry into a bench spot, or are you going to take a flyer on a guy like Ubaldo Soto, Dominican summer league pitcher who throws in the mid 90s and shows at least a sign of a secondary pitch. So it's kind of how do you carry into the difference between those kind of guys and where are you going to sort them out between 15 to 30 to, maybe even 40 or 45 or wherever kind of thing. My Heidi just drove by. That's my wife. Sorry. I've got the window right here, right here. Um, so the little things like that, that's where the difference in opinion makes. So realistically, when you look at these lists, especially for organizations like the Angels, the difference between a guy that is ranked 17 and the guy that's ranked 25, there's not a really an eight person gap between them. It's just an opinion at that point. Same as a top 100 list, right? Once you get past 50 or whatever it is, that 51 to 70, you could sort them in all kinds of different ranges. Once you get to 71 to 110, you can sort them in all kinds of different ranges. So that's how these work. And it's a little bit difference of opinion. You are going to hear, especially with the top 100, right? You're going to hear guys, is this a top 100 prospect guy? And if there's any no's in there or question marks, you put them on the back burner and then make a decision later. If it's, you've got you ask 10 people, all 10 say he's top 100, and another guy, 8 of the 10 said he's top 100, that's where the difference in
Probably
opinion is.
putting on,
And
yeah.
you could have a scout that says, "Oh, he's a top 50 guy," and then you have another guy that says, "No, he's not a top 100 prospect." That's where you start
Yeah.
kind of getting a little more selective, kind of thing. And that's what with this with the Angels list and the top 30. Some guys in the organization may say he's our 18th best prospect, or I'd put him right ahead of this group. And you start sorting, outfielders, right? Jordan
Hmm.
Adams. Jordan Adams is a major league bench piece, more of a 4A guy at the moment, but
Yep.
he's been in the majors, right? So do you put him ahead of someone like Hayden Alvarez, who has all kinds of upside down the Dominican, um, banking on the upside in the future, or do you take the guy that's already in the major leagues, has already taken that step? So little things like that, and that's where it gets really fun and interesting. But when you read these things, you have to take it with a grain of salt, realizing that, just because a guy is ranked 21 and 22 doesn't mean the guy at 21 is 100% better than the guy at
Yeah.
22.
Of course.
Last prospect question here for you, because top 100 prospects, especially coming from Baseball American Pipeline, do make a big difference now in today's baseball world, dealing with draft picks and things like that. How many top 100 prospects do the Angels have right now?
My opinion, my general opinion,
Your opinion, yeah. Because
two.
I know Baseball America's going to have a little different opinion than what you think and what I
Right,
think.
and all I can make is a recommendation. All I can do is make. I have nothing to do with that. That is JJ Cooper, Josh Norris, Matt Eddy. Those guys. I mean, that is a hard dedication, and like you said, it does have an impact now. Same as what Jim Callis and John Mayo are doing over at MLB and ESPN with Kylie McDaniel. It's it's drastically important now based on what MLB has made a decision on, which is interesting to say the least. But no, I think Christian Moore 100% is a top 100 guy. I think Caden Dana is definitely a top 100 guy. Um, After that, you have some question marks. And would it surprise me if someone like Samuel Aldegari or George Clausen made the top 100 based on, part of it is politics, and not that Baseball America or MLB play the politics game by any standard, but you're going to have teams campaigning for players like that are almost near rookie eligible, right? They're anticipated to be a rookie the following season. You're going to have teams campaigning and playing politics at that point, and really saying, hey, like, what are you talking about? George Clausen, it should be a top 50 prospect, right? And that's because the anticipation is that he's going to pitch in the majors next year, could be rookie eligible, could be rookie of the year eligible. So you have, and it's just a campaigning thing. So for me, deadlock, Caden Dana, Christian Moore, top 100 prospects. Not a lot of doubt in my mind in that. I'd probably be surprised if they were not top 100 prospects, but at the same time, and both of those guys are definitely rookie eligible next year. Caden Dana definitely could break the rotation and be in the rotation all season long. Christian Moore, I think if it wasn't for the injury, I actually don't think I would have been surprised if he came up this year with how the Angels have played the aggressive approach, which a lot of teams are talking about, especially on the amateur front. But even without the amateur front, a lot of teams are talking about this, saying, what do the Angels have something going on here? I've had this conversation multiple times, and it's interesting that people seem to kind of they don't dislike it. It doesn't seem like they find it very interesting what the Angels are doing, because I don't know if I was a fan of it when it started, but it seems to be working. You look at Zach Neto, Nolan Schanuel. I know Nolan Schanuel statistically, analytically didn't have the greatest year, but it's impressive that he came from Florida or FIU, FAU.
FAU, Florida
Yeah,
Atlantic.
that's Florida.
You were right the first time.
Right. A guy coming from Florida Atlantic, and not even a year later, not even like 2 months later, he's playing Major League Baseball. That and doing it at least a clip to keep the job is the way I would say it, is just keeping his job. And I was impressed with what he did. Reed Detmers, I know things have fallen apart a little bit there, but the fact that these guys, I mean, legitimately, Reed Detmers could be a rookie of the year next year with standard development. So really impressive what the Angels have been able to do, not only with quick advancement, but guys that they've identified as guys that can move quickly and have an impact on the major league roster pretty quickly. I mean, Zach Neto, undeniably the best Angel this year, and I would have said Logan O'Hoppe was the face of the franchise outside of Mike Trout. Got to remember that name at some point. But no doubt, Zach Neto has really taken the reins and become the face of the Angels franchise.
Yep. Yeah, and he had a fantastic season. Good segue into, non-prospects. I mean, we could talk prospects all day. We do it already, I think. But let's talk Angels off season. A lot of different things, a lot of different moving parts, pieces. Artie Moreno's already come out and said his spew that he usually says after the season. So what is your take on what Artie Moreno said over the past, 2 weeks?
I did listen to your guys' last podcast, and I think you touched on a lot of interesting things. I see you guys smiling. Nate, I got to tell you, Nate, you've hit on a lot of really good points lately, and I don't usually tell you that.
Wow, that doesn't happen often, so I'm going to take that.
The last 2 shows have been great on your end. So, no, Artie has to say certain things, right? He's an owner. It's a politics game. And he has guys in place to play those politics, John Carpino and Perry Manassian, obviously. But I think something that stuck with me a few years ago when they brought in Perry, and I think I think it was when Joe left. I think it was when Joe Madden left. We talked to John Carpino, and John Carpino said something about, and it was talking about the investments that Artie Moreno makes. Obviously, not afraid to spend a little bit of money. But I think because we were talking about the involvement that Artie Moreno has with this team. And I think it was interesting. John said, when you make that kind of financial decision to put in that kind of money, don't you think that the person that put that money in should be partially invested? And I thought that's actually a very valid point. So I don't mind Artie Moreno being partially invested in the Angels to the degree he is. I think we saw it in the past, overly invested in the team. And I think Artie's taking a step back. I think you guys mentioned that you hadn't seen him at ball games. He is at ball games pretty regularly, fairly regularly. But I think this is a guy. I think he wants to win. I think he knows that if the better the product is, the more money he's going to bring in. Now, obviously, Angels attendance didn't take a massive hit the last few years, despite not being a good baseball team. So I think he knows that the better the team is, you're looking at that 3 million tickets sold per year kind of thing. It's a big marker for Artie Moreno. So the better the team is going to be, the more money in his pocket. And I also think he has a vested interest in wanting to win, wanting to succeed, wanting to be good in business as an owner in an entertainment industry and putting together a proper entertainment. I think the thing that Artie refuses to say is that they are in the midst of a rebuild. And no one's going to say that when it comes to the Angels because of what Artie believes in. He believes in winning and putting a good product out every year. If he were to literally come out and say, we're at the beginning stages or middle stages of a rebuild, everything changes. Everything changes on perception of Artie Moreno because you say, hey, this guy gets where the Angels are, gets where his business is. Outside of that, he didn't say anything egregious. He didn't say anything dumb or smart. He played it very neutral, played it very flat, and that's what you want to have from an owner. You don't, we're going to win the World Series next year. Yeah, come on. It's not going to happen. To say that he wants to put together a competitive team and that they're starting to build a competitive window, it's fair. It's I think, Jared, you pointed out a few episodes ago on your show is that where are the Angels going to find 20 wins? That's a huge marker. I don't know where they're going to find 20 wins. I don't know where they're going to find 25 and 30 because they're probably going to need those 25 or 30. But at the same time, they are starting to progress into a window. I still think that window is at least 2 years out to build on those 20 wins that they need. But at the same time, it's going to be, I think he sees what a lot of people see is that Perry Manassian has started a building ladder, but you had to plummet to do it. And as much as it sucked to see the Angels they were awful this year. They were atrocious. But I think these are the steps that need to be taken to have a better future. And I think that Perry Manassian has done that. And I think Artie Moreno is seeing that the same way that a lot of us are.
Yep, absolutely. And Nate, I'll let you ask the last question here. I have one that kind of corresponds with this. What do the Angels need to do this offseason to compete, or what's your definition of competing this year too? Like, because everybody's a little bit different. Nate says be a 500 team. I say win 80 games. I know it's close, but like the playoffs. But I don't know what's competing for the Angels.
Baby steps. You've got to get over 500. It's been way too long since you've been at that mark. You've got to win 81 games at minimum next year. I think that's a huge marker. Maybe it doesn't have to be next year, but at least show signs that you're going towards 81 wins. And that's your first little baby step. I know people don't want to hear that. I know they want to hear World Series or bust, but realistically, you take those baby steps. You get as close to 500 as you can. And once you're there, push over. So I think next year, the goal should absolutely be get over 500, win 81, 82 games at minimum. At that point, you start progressing. Okay, now we can focus on the wild card. Now we can focus on the division. Now we can focus on championship, a pennant, right? And then you start building on, because you got to get in the playoffs first to do anything when it comes to the World Series. And we've seen it before. You get hot at the right time. The best teams are going to shine. And I think there's been a lot of argument about that bye week. I have my own opinions. I think hitters' timing is the biggest issue when it comes to taking that bye week. I think that's the absolute biggest. I'm not worried about pitchers during that stretch, but you get in the playoffs, you have an opportunity, you have a chance. Now, if you get beat by a better team, so what? You got beat by a better team. That's what I keep saying about the Yankees. Yankees have everything to lose this year. They are undeniably the best team in baseball. I know the Dodgers won 98 games, but with their health, with everything that's going on, the Yankees are undeniably the best team in the playoffs. They have everything to lose. The Tigers, the Royals, the Mets have, the Mets spent a lot of money, so it's a little tough saying that they are playing with house money kind of thing. But what if the Yankees lost to the Tigers? I mean, that would have been atrocious. It would have been a huge blunder. So you have to get there first. And to do that, you have to invest. So I think the Angels do have to invest in the free agent market. I think they have to bring in notable pitching. I really do. I think they have good internal stuff, but I don't think they have impact internal pitching necessarily. Caden Dana is obviously a very good pitcher, but I think he's a mid back of the row. I think he's going to eat innings and perform well, but he's not the ace type that you need. You need impact pitching, and you need an impact bat somewhere in there. I know you can bring in Anthony Rendon if he's healthy, and if he's hitting to his capabilities, it's impact bat. You bring in Mike Trout when he's healthy, that's an MVP caliber bat, right? So you have to find these impact players, and I don't see how you can do it in one winter without spending an egregious amount of money. I love Juan Soto, future Hall of Famer for me. Absolutely love the guy. Would I love to cover him in Anaheim? Absolutely. Do I want to see the Angels spend $500 million when they don't need to? Probably not. So, Corbin Burns, does he want to come? Does he want to come to Anaheim? He's mentioned that he wants to pitch for a playoff team. So does he view the Angels as a playoff team next year? I don't think so. So and you're not talking about next year. Corbin Burns is going to look towards a 5-6 year deal. So does he see the Angels having their window in 26 and being competitive for 4 out of the 5 years of his contract or more? That's where the difference is. So you've got to find impact. You've also got to build on the depth. You can't anticipate injuries, but they're going to happen. Nothing against the guys that they ran out there in September. I mean, that roster was just gutted with injuries and other things, but you can't be sending out Eric Wagman and Gustavo Campero out there and the everyday lineup. And I love that those guys got their opportunity, but you can't be playing in September having those guys in your lineup if you anticipate any chance of competing.
Absolutely. Nate, go ahead.
Wow.
Go ahead.
He sounds like me right now. Yeah, no, I love it, Taylor. My one question to go along with that, do you see any pitching get dealt for hitting this year? Like, is there a guy that you're like, hey, this guy makes sense to get moved? Because, like you mentioned, the Angels need to get an impact bat. Jared and I also have talked about, we think they need to get someone that fits the timeline as well. Is there someone that you think could be a sleeper trade candidate?
I don't think I do, because you need to bring in someone. I thought Gio Urshela was a great signing when it happened. Obviously, the injury ruined all of that, but I think someone like Gio Urshela could completely change this Angels lineup. I think it really could. So if you can find someone like Gio Urshela, I know Hunter Renfroe wasn't great, but if you can find a power, you need contact, you need power. I think a lot of people talk about Yunel Escobar as a leadoff hitter. The guy swung at everything, but he also hit like 300, right? So you've got a guy that's getting on base at 350 clip, even though he's hitting 320 and, small. But you need someone you need a table setter. You really need a table setter. And I think Taylor Ward and Nolan Schonwell are great to put ahead of Mike Trout and the front of your lineup, but they're two hitters. They're not leadoff guys. So, and you need a little bit of speed. So get a table setter, get someone that's going to get on base, steal some bases. I think you need someone like that. And I think you need that middle of the order. You need 2 middle of the order bats. So, Teoscar Hernandez, obviously the big name, right? And rightfully so. But Artie Moreno mentioned that JD Martinez was an option. That would have been massive. That would have changed the Angels lineup for the year. Someone like that. And I know those are free agent markers, but trade wise, I would just look for someone. Trying to think of what Eddie Rosario even did this year, just mentally off the top of my head. I have no idea. I don't know if he was good or
DFA'd
bad.
DFA'd at least once, maybe twice, hit under the Mendoza line.
Okay, so let's go Eddie Rosario 3 years ago. Let's go to that guy. Gio Urshela, find someone like that. And I think that's going to be what it may not be the one that people want, the one that people are expecting. I'd have to take a look and think about it a little more. But also, what is this? What are you going to trade away? Because you don't really have strong trade assets right now. I know a lot of people are talking about Reed Detmers. I still live and die on the hill that Reed Detmers is the future of the Angels pitching. You've got to get him mentally right, because he was just not there. But Reed Detmers, like I think I noted it multiple times, for a 20-game span, one of the best pitchers in baseball. Mm-hmm. And when you're doing, if it was a 5-game span, it's different. But you're talking about 20 games, that's a huge marker. And the Angels went like I don't think it was 20 games. I think it was 15, but the Angels went like 14-1 in those games. That's so big and important to
Yep.
do. And I know wins and losses I don't know what his win-loss record was during it. I don't care. The Angels
Yep.
won 95% of those games, whatever it was. You need someone like that. So, Tyler Anderson obviously has outperformed the metrics. I know he slowed down. I think he's going to continue to slow down, but you're paying him 13 million. I think that's right. He's giving you exactly what you paid him for. And I
Keep
know
him to
that,
the deadline.
yeah, well, and the 3 years was probably the one marker that was a little iffy and everything, but you need someone. You're talking about 27 outs times 162. You need someone to get you 27, or need someone to get you 18 outs every 5 days. So Tyler Anderson is capable of doing that. So I think, regardless of what Tyler Anderson does next year, he's going to at least give you, somewhat competitive innings, and he's going to eat those innings. You need one at minimum. So, and Jack Kahanowitz, I know that the performance was off the charts at the end of the year. I don't anticipate him to keep that stretch just because he's not missing bats. And I love guys that don't miss bats. I love ground ball pitchers. I love guys that are unique. Tomfoolery's fun. He's got to miss more bats to find the success that you'd like to see. But heck, if it happens for a year and he's able to run a 60% ground ball percentage for a full year and somehow not miss bats and limit runs, then so be it. That's great. But
Mhm.
you need guys that eat innings. You have Tyler Anderson. There's nothing wrong with having him in the rotation. Keep him healthy. And Angels, I think 25, you just got to look at getting over that 500 hump. You got to win 81 games at minimum and find a way to get to your first little baby step goals. And that's where I would look towards the Angels for 25. And then you're looking at 26, 27 beyond.
Absolutely. So, Taylor, before we let you go, rattle it all off again, where they can find you, where they can find your work, the book, maybe NHL predictions. I don't know.
On X at Taylor Blake Ward. You can find the book on Amazon or any book outlet online. In Search of Millionaires, Life of Baseball Gypsy. It's the life of Bob Fontaine, longtime scouting director, including the Angels, who signed Jim Abbott, Tim Salmon, Garrett Anderson, Darren Erstad. That I think it was out of that 25 guys on the playoff roster in '02, I think he had 19 of them that were under his belt. So you can find my work at Sporting Tribune. Great deal that we're doing over here. We've got a lot of really great young writers that we're bringing across doing NHL predictions. Oh God. I just went over this. I keep saying the Bruins are just too good to not win, but then they don't. I'll go for a wild one. I think the Florida Panthers repeat. I think they look great. I'll go with the Florida Panthers repeating. Edmonton does not make the Stanley Cup or the Western Conference Finals because they are not that good. I was not surprised that they lost Stanley Cup at all because they are not good at all. I don't get how they made it as far as they did. Sorry, I'm a Vancouver guy. Edmonton's atrocious. Well, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are obviously special, but like Skinner, I mean, come on, like what in the world are you doing? Baseball America. Buy the Baseball America handbook, available at baseballamerica.com. I'm really excited to be working with those guys. It's been something a lot of baseball writers want to do, and I'm capable of doing that, and that's really a special thing for me to be able to do that. And I'm really excited about that. So thank you to JJ Cooper and Matt Eddy for believing in me on that. And what else? Anything else? What did I forget, Jared?
I think you got it. In search of,
Yeah, I think
you
you
already,
got it all.
yeah, you said it all. In search
All
of
right,
Millionaires.
there
I
you
mean,
go.
you got it.
Rattle them off.
You got it.
Follow Nate Green on X at Nate Green _7. Is that what it is?
Nate Green 34.
Nate Green
What's
34.
what's mine? You got mine?
You can follow
That's-
Jared on X at Jared_Tims.
Yes.
And Taylor, don't forget to say hi to Beagle and Heidi and the cat for us. We really do appreciate
What did you
jumping
call
on.
him?
I said
What
the
did you?
cat. I said Beagle, Heidi, and the cat. You guys have a cat.
I
now.
thought you were calling him by his name. His name is Bagel. Bagel the Beagle.
Oh, Bagel the Beagle. Yeah, I did. I said Beagle, huh? I said meant to say Bagel.
We've got another cat with us right now, and it's driving me up a wall, man. I love my cat. That's about where I end it with cats.
All right. Don't forget
Fair.
to go bother Taylor on X about his cats and his and Bagel. And don't forget to follow us on all our social medias. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments below here on YouTube. Really do appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for listening and watching. Have a great rest of your day.